I feel like I grew up on the greats of 3D platforming in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, the original PlayStation was my family's first home console. Games like Crash and Spyro were my go-to. So when I saw something with that same classic platforming vibe with modern visuals on my store page, it quickly ended up in my wish list. Hello everyone, my name is Chris Gildart, and this is my first impressions of Nikoderiko: The Magical World, which came out for PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch on October 15th this year, and we just got it on PS4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam and Epic on December 5th. I do want to extend a very special thanks to Knight's Peak, My Games, and Keymailer for getting me a code on PS5. I was honestly just going to sit and wait for a good sale because I've got a lot of other games I haven't played and many other projects in the works, but then Keymailer reached out and said that I had a really good chance of getting this code if I just asked for it. So here we are. I was also provided with a special link to buy the game in the description, so if you enjoy what you see, using the link will help support the channel. I don't get any money from it, but it helps me look good, you know? If you want to support the channel even more, don't forget to give this video a like, comment with your thoughts below, and of course subscribe if you haven't as well. Now this video isn't sponsored, but I thought I'd mention a bit about Keymailer because I also know many of you who follow the channel are also content creators yourself. Keymailer is a platform to connect content creators like yourself with game publishers to assist in distributing codes for things like reviews and streams. I've been using them for a long time, and I've found over the years that many publishers have decided to exclusively provide codes for their games here. And thanks to Keymailer, I've been able to cover games like Ruby Arrowfell, Jagged Alliance Rage, and now Nikoderiko: The Magical World. And who knows, maybe you'll even be offered a code, which is what happened to me with the Elder Scrolls Online expansion Blackwood. You can specify the types of games you cover as well as your available and preferred consoles. Keymailer makes it super easy to find new games and know what the minimum requirements are for requesting a code. You can even filter your searches to see games that you've been pre-approved for based on the publisher's requirements. So if you're interested in joining me and many other content creators on Keymailer, I've also included a link to that in the description. Now, back to the game at hand. Starting up Nikoderiko, we're greeted with a lovely and whimsical title track. And if you're listening to the music in the background of this video, you can hear just how good it is. And it makes sense because this game's soundtrack is composed by David Wise, who also worked on Yooka-Laylee, Star Fox Adventures, and I don't know, just the Donkey Kong Country series. The biggest disappointment about this soundtrack is that it's not on Spotify because I'd be jamming out to it every minute. Actually starting up the game, we get a nicely animated cutscene of our two main characters, Nico and Luna? Then who the heck is Doriko? What the heck is Doriko? Justice for Doriko! Anyways, the cutscene is very well animated and composed, but there aren't many sound effects, or they're drowned out by the music. Like, there are some sound effects, but it doesn't feel as well mixed as you'd expect from a cutscene with this level of presentation. After the opening cutscene, we get a conversation with Nico and Luna that is surprisingly fully voiced. And it's not bad.
Yeah, they're such blockheads. Where do you find them? But we've dealt with worse. We'll deal with this too. We just need to find our chest.
I think the Cobrings store all the loot on that huge ship. Let's try to find a way back up there.
I've tried looking them up, but most of the cast here either didn't have many credits, or I haven't heard of what they've been in. Miles Reed and Catherine Clavello do great jobs as Nico and Luna respectively. I haven't even got to the part of the actual gameplay yet, and I'm already having a good time. Once you get into the first stage, you'll notice that the soundtrack isn't the only part of Nikoderiko that's inspired by Donkey Kong Country. We get this overworld map that is very similar to classic Donkey Kong Country on SNES. Then we're dropped into this very vibrant stage. You get to platform around 2.5D environments full of collectibles that remind me a lot of Rayman. In this game, you can play as either Nico or Luna by pressing triangle on the map. Both play the exact same, so it's not like you'll be missing out on much if you decide to only play as one or the other. You can attack with a sliding kick along the ground or by jumping into a ground pound. Some enemies can be taken out by jumping on them, but I personally found sliding or ground pounding was the way that I was taking them out. Stages are designed with many different kinds of obstacles, moving platforms, and enemy placements. Just like with any other great platformer, there are a plethora of secrets to find. Whether it's the 2 special stages that are hidden in every level that range from collecting stars to defeating enemies without being hit, the letters that spell out Nico, or the hidden gems and coins, you'll find yourself thoroughly exploring every corner of every stage. You can even come across different mounts that help deal with enemies or tough platforming areas. You can even go Super Mario World on them and kick them down just for some extra air on a jump. Though I haven't found an area where that level of abuse is needed, just maybe a collectible that's just out of reach. Now I gotta really sing the praises of this game's design because whoever worked on this first stage deserves a high five, a coffee, a raise, a vacation, and a gentle glance in their direction while proudly smiling and nodding. Specifically in that order. First of all, we start off on a tree branch with a jump tutorial. Now you can jump if you want to slightly move the tree stump, but if you're a little bit more intuitive, you can do a ground pound for a little bit of a different experience. The game doesn't tie off certain parts of your controls just for the tutorial. There's also this not-so-hidden path to the left where you can nab some of the game's collectibles, and is a great way to let you know that there are secrets in this game. Though there's a handful of different things to gather in this game, it's laid out in a way that encourages that exploration that I was talking about. You may miss 1 or 2 things on your first run through this stage, but if you're perceptive enough, the game is designed to show you where all of the different secrets are. Watching my gameplay back, I got so mad at myself for missing the precariously placed wooden planks that could definitely be broken to find another secret. And yes, I did go back afterwards to find the underground piñata. But what really impressed me is around the halfway point in this first stage, you make your way toward a dead end with a big button. Jump on the button and suddenly the game turns into a linear 3D platformer. This is where the Crash Bandicoot vibes really start to kick in. There's even a reticle that helps you to see where you're going to land your jump. At the end of the stage, there is a container full of these firefly things. I honestly don't know what they're called. Nothing is really given to you in this game, which both feels slightly limiting from a world-building perspective, but also it just plays into that classic platformer charm. Like, be honest, 90s kids, how many of you truly knew that this was called a Wumpa fruit? Anyways, we're done with the first stage, and oh my god, I can't believe I've only just finished talking about the first stage, and it's almost been 8 minutes into the video. I guess that just goes to show you how good of a first impression this game gives. The next stage starts off with a big drop where you can get a feel for the parachute you use to glide. It took me way too long to get used to the fact that there's no double jump in this game. You do get a wall jump a la Ninja Gaiden, so expect some platforming challenges designed around that as well. Most of the stages in this game are more 2D than 3D, which is a little disappointing because I feel like that 3D platforming side doesn't really get a chance to shine as much. It's almost like we're split more 70-30 between the two. As of the writing of this part of the script and the recording of this audio, I've made it to about the halfway point of the third area of levels, and I haven't had a moment quite like that first stage where it mixes both perspectives perfectly. I will say that we do get a nice mix of playstyles though. We got the usual 2D and 3D platforming, swimming, a boss that's kind of like a shmup, and stages very reminiscent of the Boulder and Polar Bear stages in Crash. Seriously, a great variety of levels and all feel very unique and use all of the mechanics to their advantage. Even with many of the stages in the same area having similar environments, you won't feel like you're playing through the same stage over and over again. I would say the worst part about this game is just how much it fits into that classic mentality fatality. Dying brings you back to the last checkpoint where you lose all of the collectibles you would have gained since that checkpoint. Now this is primarily on normal, but there are some collectibles that you lose out even on easy. I honestly didn't notice too much of a difference in the difficulties except for the collectibles, and you have infinite summons of the 3 mounts on easy. On normal, you use the coins that you find throughout the stages to buy summons of these mounts, so that means coins are practically useless as far as I can tell if you play on easy. I also found the controls to be a little bit more floaty than I'm used to with platformers, and this led to a lot more deaths during certain special stages and water levels. That last one being especially annoying. There is a seahorse mount that fires frickin' laser beams, and that sounds badass, right?
Well, sit your arse down and listen here, bud. I'm saltier than a sardine now, cause these boys turn on a fucking toonie, I tell ya. Got me drove.
I didn't find many deaths were unavoidable otherwise, but definitely started to feel the frustration at some points. And the most egregious thing, do you really want to know? We can't go back after this. If you hear the worst thing this game does, you'll never be able to unhear it. Just know that you've been warned. The absolute worst part about this game is that you can't navigate the menus with the D-pad. It seems like that's basic game design, but Nikoderiko apparently doesn't play by the rules. I mean, look at Nico. His jacket has lightning bolts and his jeans are cuffed. We're dealing with a true-blooded rebel here. I will say that I like the gacha-style elements of the shop to unlock all the items in the gallery. You can't buy the currency with real money, so this is a nice way to bring in modern elements into a classic-style game. And the gallery is one of the things that feeds into that 90s nostalgia, because every game back in the day had to have some sort of gallery to show off concept art, behind-the-scenes videos, or even just a character model viewer. Unfortunately, I do have to say something else that I don't like, and that's how the music doesn't loop in the gallery the same way that it loops in a stage. Especially with this not being on Spotify, I would have loved to have the gallery open and just listening to the songs while I do my chores. I also would have loved to use this to gather the music for this video instead of standing at the beginning of a stage. No, Mom, I'm not just playing on my phone, I'm doing real work. You wouldn't understand! In the end, Nikoderiko really was a charming experience, and I'm fairly certain you'll like it as well if you enjoyed the handful of other games I mentioned, like Crash, Donkey Kong, and Rayman. Though you can feel the indie game jank from time to time, I mean, I got this glitch where the seahorse kept swimming out of the water, so I decided to see if we got a Mario Bros. Secret by swimming around the top of the stage, but something tells me that the devs never meant for you to go here because not only did my seahorse disappear, but I am also still swimming where there is no water. And I can't get back. So I guess I'm starting over. There are also the slightly floaty controls and lackluster sound mixing for the opening, but most issues aren't really a common occurrence with this game. It actually feels like a game that would have come out in the 2000s. I didn't really mention the story because there's not much to go off, but what's here will at least keep you entertained enough between levels. I also didn't get a chance to try out the co-op mode because Chelsea's preparing for a pop-up market and I didn't really feel like distracting them from making these adorable candy cane frogs. But the main draw for me and what I imagine will be for most is the feeling of the overall gameplay and presentation, which can't be praised enough. Beyond the odd, frustrating moment that I had, I was still having so much fun with Nikoderiko that I couldn't imagine not recommending this game. If you've been itching for a platformer that provides a decent challenge without being unfair or difficult just for the sake of it, then you need to give Nikoderiko a try. Everything about this game is just filled to the brim with passion and talent. There's just a bit of polishing it needs to really stand out among the crowd. Hopefully, this isn't the last we see of these mongoose duo and their wacky adventures. I mean, someone's gonna have to make furry propaganda. Disney's not doing it anymore. Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching my first impressions of Nikoderiko the Magical World. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe for more. What was your go-to platformer as a kid, and do you have one now? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to help support this channel and what I do here, you can join the guild just like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen right now. You can join them at the end of every single video for just $1 a month over on Patreon or YouTube memberships, and you can donate in a one-time fashion to join the volunteer unit over on Ko-fi or through super chats during live streams. There are other rewards and other tiers as well, so check out the links that you see on screen, and I will see you all down in the comments.